Well, guys, we are going to finish up on word number 4 today. At least that is my belief. That will happen. So word 4 is from, let's see, verse 8. So I'll read down through verse 8. Then God spoke all these words. I am Yahweh, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Basically, I've already saved you. And because you are trusting me, you will have no other gods before me. You won't make for yourself an idol, whether in the form of anything that is in the heaven above, the earth beneath, or the water under the earth. You will not bow down to them or worship them. For I, Yahweh, am your God, am a jealous God, punishing children for the iniquity of parents to the third and fourth generation of those who reject me, but showing steadfast love to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not make wrongful use of the name of Yahweh your God, for Yahweh will not acquit anyone who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You will not do any work, you, your son or daughter, your male or female slave, your livestock, or the alien resident in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that's in them. But he rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and consecrated it. If you remember, we talked last week about that there is another set of these in Deuteronomy. And it talks not about creation and God resting on the seventh day, but it talks about the reasoning being because you yourselves were slaves. And you need to remember that you are slaves no longer. And that the whole idea of life, we tend to fall into this idea that we must work. And that work is what gives us life. And so the idea that we are working for a living, I realize it's a little bit of a pun, but it truly is what we struggle with. And so God is trying to say that is the way your life was when you were a slave. That was what's been beaten into you literally for 400 years. I don't want you living that way anymore. I don't want you living under that understanding anymore. That it is only what you can do for yourselves that gives you true life, true success. And so we're going to use, in this, I'm going to give you this idea of creation. And I think we talked a little bit last week that the idea in Genesis is not about material creation as much as it is about functional creation. That God set things in order so that he could rest or sit in his temple on his throne and reign over what had been put into order. It's the difference between building a birdhouse and putting together a nonprofit organization. So, in that idea, it is that we realize that it's not about what we can do for ourselves that brings us life. This is one of the first ones that has the idea about how we grab life for ourselves. All of them kind of have this theme through it. It's trust God to bless you with life. Stop thinking that you have to grab life for yourselves and that's how you'll get success. And we talked a little bit last week about the differences in what rest means for different people. Actually, I think maybe work. I'm trying to remember what I wrote. I think it was work. But let's talk about that for just a minute. When you think of rest, what does it mean for you?
Taking a nap.
Yeah, nap. I love that word. Nap. rest, what does that mean for you? Yes?
Rest at night.
I'm sorry?
Rest at night.
At night, okay. At night. I'm just going to put night on there. All right? Anybody else? Rest.
Taking a break.
A break. I don't know why, but that makes me think of the Kit Kat commercial. Anybody else?
Drinking iced tea under a tree in the summer.
Iced tea. I'm going to put sweet tea. All right.
Vacation.
Vacation.
That's
I don't
not
know.
rest.
Sometimes those aren't real restful.
Watching a beautiful sunset.
Sunsets.
Having peaceful thoughts.
Peaceful. I'm just going to shorten that to peace.
Being one with oneself.
Okay. Shorten it just a little bit.
Stress-free.
Ooh. All right. Anybody else?
Read a good book.
Book.
Under that tree, wet so sweet.
Anybody else?
On a break. At night. How about trying to get ready to move? That's a stress.
That's no rest in that. I'll say right now. There's no rest in that.
Oh my goodness, heart palpitations.
I don't know how many of you in here, but this is something. It depends on your personality. But for me, that is rest. I think I probably mentioned last week that on Sundays, when I was living with my mom and dad in the parsonage, when I was working in furniture factories, I was around 20, 21, and they would always look at me cross-eyed Sunday afternoon because I would leave every Sunday afternoon. I would take off to go find a pickup basketball game. I had 2 or 3 places that I knew there would be one, and that was my rest on Sunday afternoons. Now, that was not my mother and dad's idea of rest. Their idea of rest was to sit and, for my dad, watch a ball game, which I thought was quite ironic that he's watching a ball game and he's okay with that, but me playing a ball game, not okay with that.
Well, that's stressful.
It is for them, but it was relaxing for me.
But you have to think about if I can hit the ball right or...
Not me.
Nah.
Not me.
And then you have to use your whole body. That doesn't relax you.
Oh, it does me. It does me. But you know, I know of people that they find relaxing in simply being outside and maybe even tending to their garden.
That's me.
Going through, maybe doing a little pruning kind of stuff and those kind of things. They find relaxation.
Whoever that person is, we need them.
Yeah, send them to my yard.
I like to go out and deadhead my petunias every evening.
Okay, has that got some? Okay, hold on just a minute. Hold on. That is not a term that I'm familiar with. Yes, no.
Taking off the
Is that?
old blooms,
Oh, okay.
so they'll repeat blooms.
That's because
Yeah.
I
That's
like
okay. So that's pruning. The same idea.
Well, pruning is kind of shaping and maybe cutting off the dead bits. or-
Okay. See, because when I hear that, I'm thinking Jerry Garcia. What's that got to do with? Not sure what that's got to do with it. Okay.
Great.
Okay. But I want you guys to notice that everybody kind of has their own thing, right? Their own own thing that gives them relaxation. It's not just the one thing for everybody. Now, everybody's sweet tea should be on your list. It's not, something's wrong with you. But, so, a lot of times, we tend to want to make things very cut and dry, black and white, to where we can understand them a little bit better. But it leads us sometimes into looking at other, like my parents, looking at me, kind of cross-eyed, going, that's not my idea, instead of simply going, you know what? That's relaxing to Terry. And if that's relaxing to Terry, we should be completely happy that he's finding that relaxation on Sunday afternoons like we find ours doing something different. Okay? So this is kind of a Sunday afternoon kind of thing we're talking about, but that's only a very small little bit about what this is trying to tell us. So Sabbath, I think we talked about last week, Sabbath literally means to stop. It comes from the Hebrew word Shabbat. And Shabbat literally means stop. So we are to not continue to work as though that is the only way we're going to find success. Because that's what was success for men. Men, it was what they could produce from the ground or produce from business. And that was how they measured success in life. That's how they got life. For women, it was about producing from the womb, specifically sons. And that's how they saw themselves as successful. It's interesting, we're pointed back to the creation account. Do you remember when Eve bears her first child? The wording she uses, I'm going to look it up real quick. I just thought of this. I was not prepared. So when Eve, hold up here, Genesis. When Eve bears her first child, she says this. Now the man knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain. Sorry. It's okay. I'm not here. And Eve said, I have produced a man.
Who recorded it?
Who recorded her producing a man?
Oh, what she's saying.
Yeah. But it's the verbiage. Do you hear it? I have produced. I have made myself a man. There's several things in there. One is, he's mine. Another part of it is, it's a man, it's a boy, I am successful. You see, because God even tells them earlier that the ways in which you are going to find success, you are going to find painful. We typically think in that verse that God is cursing them. He's actually telling them about what sin is going to do, about how sin is going to curse them. You see, I really think it's more about their perception, and that perception continues on into today. You see, Adam was already involved in the garden and tilling the soil and doing stuff like that. But it wasn't a job. It wasn't how he found success in life. It was just what he did. The success was in his relationship with God. A God who was so intimate that he walked in the cool of the evening with them. That sounds kind of like some of the stuff we were talking about. They found rest in him. They found success in him. But when their distrust of him began, when they ceased looking at him and started questioning about whether or not he really had their best interest at heart. And they said, well, we can do for ourselves. We'll try to grab this thing for ourselves instead of trusting for him to provide it, to provide for the wisdom of how to use it. And then all of a sudden, God says, well, let me tell you one of the ramifications, one of the consequences of this is the things that were joy or would be joy to you in full, because of your perception now has shifted and changed, things will not be the same as they were. Adam, I'm adding a few words here for context. Adam, what you used to be doing, tilling the soil, it wasn't a job. It wasn't the way you found success. But now that it will be, it's going to feel like it's toil and work. And Eve, what should be something that's simply a joy, the idea that that's what you have to do, and the pain that will come along between you and your husband, and between you and your children, and the fact of, maybe I don't bear a son, but I bear a girl instead, and the shame that may bring based on relationships, that's going to cause you pain. Where there wouldn't have been that before, because that wouldn't have been your success. And we continue in a life where we experience pain. By the way, did you know that the word for toil for Adam and the word pain for Eve, they're the same word. So if anybody tells you that Eve got worse than Adam, okay, just gonna throw this out here.
Don't say it.
It was probably a man who was writing this. And so this word that we're talking about today continues to speak into that issue for us. Will you stop? And remember that it's not about what you do for yourself that is the true success in life. Now back here, this was simply about one day. It is no longer that for us. Now physically, it's very important for you to stop and rest. It's very important physically for you to be able to recover. And as this talks about all of the different things, your son, your daughter, your male and female slaves, your livestock, every bit of our life, whether it's us, if you have animals that work, if you have servants that work, and servants today could be the person that you trust to bring you your food at a restaurant. Even if you have land that you use to produce things, if you talk to a farmer, they will tell you it's really important that your land have a season of rest. It's just built into the reality of life. We need to have time to stop and recover. So physically, it's really, really important that we do that on a regular basis. But mentally and spiritually, it's just as, if not even more important. Because Jesus talks to his disciples and to the Pharisees in particular that they are under this misconception that spiritually, that this is somehow true. That they are working for their spiritual life. that they're working for the blessings of God. They have to earn that. Have you ever struggled with that? I'm going to pause. I've been going on for a little while here. Have you ever felt that way in your life? That somehow something was required of you, or you had to earn things from God?
Because I always heard, if you're good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, forget it.
Okay.
So I tried to be good,
Okay.
but wasn't always that way.
That's the thing of being a human being.
What was the question again?
Have you ever experienced a time in your life where you felt as though, or you believed as though, you had to earn your relationship with God, or what God would do for you?
No.
Never?
Never.
Oh, yeah.
That is such a blessing.
Yeah.
I wish I could say that was true for me. It is not for my life. Yes.
I did. I mean, I used to go to confession, like
Mhm.
a Catholic, and in order to be forgiven, I had to do 10 Hail Marys and 4 Our Fathers. So, you know.
At least it was easy.
It was over.
At least it was easy and over.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was forgiven, and I
Yeah.
earned my place back with God.
Right? Anybody else? I want to cut anybody off.
It's just that, you know, we were always taught you can't earn God's love. You know, He's there,
Yes.
no matter how hard you try.
That should be the way we understand it.
We were taught that, and yet we were also taught you need to be in Sunday school, you need to be reading the Bible, you need to do this, you need to do that. You can't go to the movies, you can't do. So we were taught both,
Uh-huh.
and they're not. I mean,
They don't really fit.
They don't really fit. No.
I think for me it was, what was the old standby? Don't drink, don't smoke, don't chew, and don't go with girls that do.
So which one did you do? Chew?
I will tell you, through growing up, I struggled with this idea. I struggled with the idea that I might fall down and skin my knee, and if I said the wrong word and then was hit by a car, that I was going to hell.
So I was a caregiver for my mother for a good last 5+ years. She lived to 99. And she was a good Christian woman all her life and did all the whatever you're supposed to do. And I noticed, and she would say out loud to me, I just don't know if I'm going to go to heaven or not. As she got closer to dying and she knew that was happening, she had a lot of doubt.
Yeah, I would say things too.
Yeah. So I don't think it's something you grow out of.
No, I agree. I don't think it's something we grow out of simply because we get older. I do think, though, it is a thing that we can grow out of spiritually. I think that we can come to realize that we're not serving a God who has a big checklist in the sky, and he's going, okay, well, let's see. Barbara, you were late for Sunday school class, and
An excuse, does that matter?
you didn't, you weren't at church for this, but on this side, you did pray, at least one time this week, and you did, you looked at your Bible, you opened it up at least, and so, let's see, there seems like there's more check marks on this side than there is this side.
don't you think, I had even, with the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, that was a way to judge yourself. Well, I'm not a patient person. So, I need to work on that. And the whole fact of the matter is, I need to turn that over to God and say, I am not a patient person. Forgive me and help me, because this is something, it's a fruit. I can't force myself to produce fruit, but that's almost the way I heard it preached, that, these are the fruit of the Spirit, and if you're not measuring up, you need to work on it.
Right.
Where the fact is, there's a lot of things that I could not do. I just had to, Lord, I have a problem with taking your name in vain. I have tried wearing rubber bands, having people popping me. I have tried everything, and I cannot do this. This is your problem. I'm yours. This is your problem. I can't do it. There's nothing. And it was almost immediately. The Lord took care of it. And I have been doing it for years, and have been trying to get out of it for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah.
And it could have been more years. It could have been that it was a slower process, right? But it's not about where we are in the process. See, that's where we typically measure success of where are we in the process of becoming like Jesus. But it's not where we are in the process that is success or not. It's that we're in it at all. That we're on the journey.
I don't think the journey ends.
I would say there's a great argument that even in heaven, that God is so much greater. God is so much more wonderful that even eternity will not give us enough time. But again, it's not about how close we are to the fire or how far away we are from the fire. It's that we are on our way towards the fire. That's success. But do you see how if we make it about what we've attained as far as getting to this particular place, if we make it about the work and not about the living, because if our life is in Him, if our life is about Him, if our life is given over to Him, that's the success. The prodigal comes home and says, Dad, I know I've screwed up and I've hurt you and I've sinned against you and against God. Can you just let me be a slave? Can you just let me earn and work my way back into what my life should be? And the father says, what is wrong with your thinking? You cannot earn it. You just have to live it. Just accept that's the truth. That's who you are. You're mine. And be my kid. And all that goes with it. It doesn't earn it. Because that's the blessing. The blessing is the living it. I can't earn the blessing. I just receive it. I just live it. I just accept it's the truth, and I move. And I continue to follow, and I continue to see myself as I truly am, which is what he says. We sing this. Not every Sunday, obviously. But every time I hear it, I want to jump up and down. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. All right, you had something to say.
Well, I'm just going to say that for me, I have a sense that we live in a judgmental world. And so as a child, I experienced seeing people who seemed disappointed in me until eventually I could develop a feeling of disappointment in myself. And so I also was susceptible to the concept that if I couldn't measure up to the judgment or the standards of those around me, how could I possibly measure up to God's?
Right, because obviously his standards must be so much higher than theirs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I kind of am more critical of my
Mm-hmm. You know what, it's so interesting because that's different for everybody. Everybody's kind of made up differently how they view themselves. Some people are more critical of themselves. Other people allow others to influence them more than what some people do.
Terry, would the working part
Yes.
be considered like the big I? The me, myself, I did this, I did that, look at me.
Uh-huh. I think I would agree with you that the way I'm trying to get you guys to see it, to understand it, it's about what I can do to earn my life, to earn my blessings, to earn my relationship with God. And that's exactly what Jesus was speaking to the Pharisees about. Because that was the way they viewed things. They viewed things in such a way that you had to live up to all of their laws. You had to follow all of their laws. They believed that if they could get all of Jerusalem, all of Judea, even those that had left to move out and disperse other places, which is called the diaspora, the Jews that left and dispersed to other places. They believed if they could get all of them to follow the Decalogue for one 24-hour period, that it would usher the Messiah in. And so their thinking was, if I can just keep on a whole lot more laws, surely, if I'm trying to get you to follow all these 690-some different laws, surely we can get you just to follow the Decalogue for one day. So do you see how this mindset of earning, this mindset of I've got to attain, I've got to work to get it, instead of the idea that Jesus says He is the Lord of the Sabbath. He is our rest. It's because He came and revealed who God truly is that we don't have to have this view anymore. Jesus gives us rest every moment of every day of our lives, if we'll see it. Yes, Miriam.
God rested on the seventh day when He created creation, but then when Christ came, Sabbath was changed to the first day of the week.
Well, I would say Sabbath was not changed. They didn't call it Sabbath in the early church. They called it the day of the Lord. And so they were celebrating the day of Jesus' resurrection. I'm fairly certain that most observant Jews did both. If they were Christian, they would continue to observe Sabbath on the seventh day, and then they would celebrate the Lord's Day on the first day of the week. Any other questions or comments? Wow, okay. So guys, is this something that you feel like you can do every day, just to stop in the midst of your work, in the midst of your stress, in the midst of your fears, in the midst of the doubts that voice inside your head might bring up and say, are you really good enough? Are you really measuring up? Can you allow that still small voice of Jesus to say, I am especially fond of you. You are mine. You are my child. Just rest in that knowing. Follow me because I will give you rest. In the midst of life, if you'll follow me, I will lead you to those places where you're thirsty, where there is cool water to drink. I will lead you as my sheep to where there is good food, grass for you to eat. If you've ever tried the Harry Potter every flavor beans, they have grass. It tastes like grass. It's crazy. I don't know why that made me think of that, but
My mother-in-law used to say there's no rest for the weary.
there's no rest for the weary or the wicked. I've heard that too. But see, that's where that comes from. The idea that the wicked, that the definition of that is they're trying to work and attain and earn life for themselves. And when you are living under this understanding, when you are living under this law, there is no rest.
Especially when you have children growing up.
Yeah. Because we pass this on. We pass this understanding of having to attain things on to the next generation or to other people that we're rubbing shoulders with. If our relationship with them isn't mirroring God's relationship with me, in the idea of, I just love you. Barbara, there's no check mark over here or over here. There's no balancing scale that says whether or not I love you and forgive you and just want to be in relationship with you. There is no scale. It just is the way it is. And so if Barbara ever said something that was really mean and hateful, which I can't imagine, but if she did, for me to tell her, okay, Barbara, you've got to do A, B, and C to earn your way back into relationship with me.
But we do that.
But we do. We absolutely do. But that's not what God does. God says, I don't hold it against you. Will you just let my arms embrace you again? There's no work involved. In fact, it's the opposite. So, Laura, stand up. All right, don't let this go to your head. I'm taller. No. Don't let this go to your head. I'm going to let you play God. All right. So, hold your arms out to embrace me. Okay. This is always God's stance to us. It is never that God is holding his arms out to reject us for any reason. That's not the problem. But see, so many people, when I talk to them, they think that this is God's stance. That God is going, no. Until you do this, this, and this, I will not accept you because you're not holy enough. Mm-hmm. Until you do this, this, and this, I will not allow you to come close to me because I'm too pure to even be close to any sin. No, here's the issue. God's arms are like this, and it's our arms that are doing this. No, it can't be this easy because this isn't work. It can't be this easy. You must want something. It can't be this easy because I've got these relationships with other Christians and this is the way they treat me. Their arms are up like this. There's something weird about this. This can't be right because this hasn't, those who say they speak in your name, that's not how they treat me. You must be tricking me here.
Finish her embracing you.
Okay. God, see, this is work. Me holding God at bay, that is work. Me thinking, okay, I've got to live up to this, and this before you'll actually embrace me, that is work. Me finally dropping my hands and surrendering to his embrace. That embrace that gives life, that is rest, that is blessing. There's no work involved in that. There is only surrender. If I think it's about working for a living instead of just living, and that allowing that living to flow out of me into things that aren't actually work. They might look like work, but it's not the work that gives me life. Going out, how many of you have ever been on a mission trip where you've gone somewhere else and did something for people that were less fortunate or needed something? A few. They used to say that, you had to get your heart right before you went and did stuff. But I found that for some people, it's in the abandoning themselves to do whatever this is that they realize, oh my goodness, this doesn't actually work. This is me just sharing blessings that I have. And I'm just this conduit through which God is going to bless these other people. And in doing that and in seeing their receiving, their surrender to being blessed, their surrender to being given life, that they experience, oh my goodness, wait, that's what it's like? I've been just kind of doing this, and I wasn't really sure whether I was in this or not, but I'm here and I'm doing it, and I'm seeing what's going on, and I'm looking into the eyes of Jesus. He says that when we do it for the least of these, we're doing it unto Him. We're doing it for Him. And we get this picture of what living is supposed to look like. Any questions? Any comments? This is something that I struggled with for most of my, I'm older now, so maybe not most of my life, but a lot of my life. There was always this idea that I had to measure up. Oh, I remember the story I was going to say. So I remember when I must have been 18 or 19. And I went down to the altar to ask God to sanctify me. And I remember months later, I was in some way not measuring up to someone's expectations. And I remember hearing an older adult, remark about me, well, I guess the sanctification didn't really take.
You were a PK, right?
Yeah.
I was.
You were.
I was a PK, I was an MK. I guess you could say I was an RO. A religious offspring. But can you imagine for someone that's in their early 20s or late teens to hear an adult that's been in the church that claims to have been sanctified, hearing them say, I guess the sanctification just didn't take. We're right back to the whole idea of somehow trying to measure up. Somehow it being a scale, not a relationship. And the struggle that turns into for people's lives when they think that God's love is conditional. That God's forgiveness is conditional. That they don't know. They can't, in their bones, feel. They can't trust in where they stand with God. Ever. Because there becomes always the question of, well, should I have, even the smallest things. Oh my goodness, should I have let that person in the car get ahead of me? When I acted like I didn't see him? Is God going to hold that against me? When I went in the door first and I didn't stop and wait for someone else to catch up and hold the door for them, is that going to count against on my negative side with God? I didn't get to church on time, or I didn't go to church while we were on vacation, or all of the things that get dropped into our thinking as far as this scale, this measuring up, instead of simply saying, God, I'm following you. And even when I stumble and fall, even when I screw up, it's not like you don't know that that's happened. It's not like you don't understand exactly what's going on in my life. Do you want me to stumble and fall? Of course not. Does it shock you when I do? No. And what is God's response when we stumble and fall? Is it to turn around and wag his finger at us? Or is it to turn around and offer his hand and say, let's get up, dust yourself off, let's keep walking together. And the more you walk with me, the more you follow after me, the more your vision will become like mine. The more your thoughts will become like mine. And those things that used to cause you issues, every step of the way along with me will become less and less of an issue. It's not about how quickly you conquer them. It's that you're in journey with me, which means that you will. And I'll tell you right now, one of the things that the church struggles with is the idea that we are the judges as to whether or not someone conquers whatever it is in the right time frame.
And Terry,
yes,
on TV, I've always heard them say, when you die,
yep,
do you know for certain you're going to heaven? And pray this prayer with us.
Right. Because that prayer is actually a magic formula. If you just pray this prayer with me on TV and just say the right words, that's all you need to do. Not about relationship. It's about this moment when you say the right thing. And that means that God is required to do what supposedly that prayer is supposed to do.
But, you know, I was always, I thought if I said, yes, I'm going to heaven. I thought that was, I didn't think I should be saying that because I felt like I was just boasting or...
Well...
But I am so glad you came along.
Well, I think for me, whatever it looks like on the other side of this life, I don't know. Scripture doesn't really give us a whole lot of understanding as to what that's going to look like. On purpose, I think. What I know is that the one who loves me more than anyone ever could, who demonstrated that love in ways that I don't think anybody else ever could, who shows me that I truly have a good and loving Father, that it is in his arms that I will rest, both on this side and the other side. And that's enough for me. I don't have to know what it looked like. I don't have to know if I know that. If I know that that person who I am in relationship and walking with now, I will continue that relationship on the other side. That's enough for me. And I think we place way too much, honestly, this is me, okay? My opinion here, people. I'm not saying anything else other than my opinion. I think we put way too much emphasis on, do you know where you're going when you die? Because we've turned the gospel into, Jesus died so I get to go to heaven. And that makes it simply just about me and about what I get when I believe the gospel is truly Jesus came and by his death and resurrection revealed who God truly is. So that now as I walk with him, I get to be an instrument through which he will save people from the hell they're in right now. Because I'll tell you, for most people, that's the bigger issue. Is the hell they're in right now. Because I don't know what's going to go on the other side of death, but I know what's going on in my life right now. Is this of any value? Does God really care about my life right now? Or is it simply about me saying some sort of prayer so that I feel better and think I'll know where I'm going, but it doesn't really have any effect on my life right now? To say you need to get saved so God won't do to you what he's going to do unless you let him save you. That's not good news. The good news is that God says, I've already saved you. I've already brought you out of the land of slavery. Will you trust me and quit suffering trying to work to gain your life? Physical labor is good, but if it is under the wrong understanding of what it does or what it's for, it becomes a prison. It becomes slavery. Let God bless you with life because you understand who you truly are. You can't gain through work, through measuring up, through anything else. You cannot gain being his. It's not until you realize you are already his and surrender to that. Because that is a embrace that cannot do anything but bless you with life. And that's what's true. That's what truly it means to be saved.
Can I say something?
You may.
If all the people who wrote the Bible were men, how come they don't think that God could be a female?
Well, I tell you what, we're going to stick a pin in that one. And we will talk about, actually, that's something we're going to talk about next week. All right? All right. As my dad used to say, are all hearts clear? All right. Let me pray for you. Father, thank you so much for all of my friends that are here. Thank you that I have trust from them to speak and share who I believe you to be. Father, help them to see you ever more clearly, not as the person who's holding the scales, but the person who has nothing in his hands because they're open wide, ready to embrace. Let us surrender to that embrace that gives us life and quit trying to toil to get it for ourselves. Because all we end up doing is taking it from other people. And we praise you for that salvation. And we say it in the name of Jesus because it's only through him that we actually get it, that we actually understand it.